An exclusive Cairo 7 investigation reveals that some iPods have suddenly burst into flames and smoke, injuring people and damaging property. Consumer investigator Amy Clancy first broke the story last night at 11 after 7 months of digging into the issue. Tonight, see what the federal government is planning to do about what Amy uncovered. Amy.
Angela, why did it take 7 months to get these documents from the Consumer Product Safety Commission? Apple's lawyers filed exemption after exemption, apparently hoping to keep me from seeing some of this. We won out and received more than 800 pages of documents, which reveal for the first time that iPods on a number of occasions have suddenly burst into flames, started to smoke, even burned their owners.
At first I thought, how in the heck did I get burned right there? And then I remembered that I had my iPod right there.
Jamie Balderas of Arlington says her brand new iPod Shuffle surprisingly overheated while she was running last November, leaving her with a small burn right where the iPod was clipped to her shirt.
My skin started burning really bad, like it was a bee sting that wouldn't stop.
Concerned, she called Apple, wondering if such burns were common. Even sent the company photos of her wound. But Balderas says she was told by an Apple customer service representative that it was an isolated incident.
I asked him if I could get some documentation on some other incidences that occur like this and what Apple was doing to correct the situation. And he said that I wouldn't be able to have access to it.
Jumping online, Cairo 7 consumer investigators found plenty of complaints about iPods overheating. Bloggers post photos of their charred and melted iPods. And in Japan, the government even issued a warning to consumers, citing a number of accidents in which iPod Nanos overheated and sparked, injuring 2 people. That led us to file a Freedom of Information Act request with the Consumer Product Safety Commission, asking to see all complaints related to iPods and burns or fire. When the documents finally arrived, out spilled more than 800 pages, including 15 burn and fire-related incidents blamed by iPod owners on their iPods.
I picked it up. It was really hot, and so my first instinct was to drop it so I didn't burn myself, but I looked at my hand and it was red and it started to get swollen. It was like touching the inside of an oven. It was very hot.
Haley Mooney got her iPod for Christmas in 2007. Her mom, Tammy, complained to Apple and says she got the runaround.
I was so frustrated because, frankly, they didn't care. They didn't care that my child was burned. They didn't care the possibilities that other children were burned. I asked them, has this been happening? Is this new? And they said, oh, no, we haven't heard of this one yet.
But by then, federal records show that Apple did already know it had problems with its iPod batteries causing fires and burns. In 2005, an iPod overheated, causing damage to home and harm to minor son in Pennsylvania. In 2006, a 17-year-old Illinois girl awoke to find her iPod Nano smoking and sparking. A Staten Island man sustained a minor shock and some redness to his left hand when he yanked his iPod Shuffle from the USB port after noticing sparks and a reddish-orange glow. That same year, an iPod caught fire aboard a ship with over 2,000 persons on board. In 2007, fire alarms at a home in New York went off after an iPod Nano started smoking. Smoke was billowing out of a teenage girl's bedroom because her iPod had caught on fire, had somehow fallen on the chair next to the desk, causing the chair to smolder. Also in 2007, in Atlanta, Daniel Williams' Nano suddenly burst into flames while in his pocket.
So I look down and I see flames coming up to my chest about here.
And in 2008, a Michigan couple awakened by smoke alarms rushed into their sleeping son's room to find his iPod smoking and melted. So far, no serious injuries have been reported to the CPSC. But Tammy Mooney believes it's only a matter of time.
That's what I've been afraid of, is that could have been a dead child because Apple didn't care to fix it.
And that was after you.
I'm horrified to learn that it's still going on.
Whenever you have a fire event of any kind, it can be potentially very serious.
Gordon DeMont is a fire scientist and 30-year California state regulator. He believes when it comes to iPods, where there's smoke, there's fire, and the potential for great harm.
If a person has a device, wearing a device that malfunctions, it could ignite their clothing. And once a person's clothing becomes ignited, then you have the potential for a rapid flame spread.
He believes, as CPSC investigators detail in these documents, that the iPod's lithium-ion batteries could be the source of the problem. Millions of lithium-ion batteries were recalled by Dell and Apple in 2006 because overheating problems in laptop computers caused fires. But the Consumer Product Safety Commission is not recalling iPods. It determined that, with more than 175 million iPods sold, quote, the number of incidents is extremely small in relation to the number of products produced, making the risk of injury very low.
The feds, the government guys, came in, they looked at this thing, and they said, hey, not yet. It might be a problem down the line if we get more information, but not yet. We can't ask this company to recall the product.
Others, however, aren't convinced.
When is enough enough? Looking at what you have here, it would clearly seem to me that the potential is there for them to do something, because in the past they've negotiated recalls with very much less information that they've provided to you.
What's your biggest concern?
There's millions of these out there, and as a parent of 5 children, all of my children have one, at least one, and they use these. And sometimes they listen to them at night when they're in bed, and what if the iPod is laying in bed and the sheets catch on fire?
And what horrifies me is to learn that it's still happening, that not only did they not care that it happened to my child, they're continuing to let it happen.
All those I interviewed for this story, including 3 consumer safety experts, agree the public should be aware of this potential problem, no matter how rare it might be. I posed that same question to Apple. Should its customers even know about this? Apple refused to answer that and the many other questions I've been asking since November. Meanwhile, Apple has been ordered by the CPSC to report any future complaints about iPod overheating immediately, which means this investigation could continue. Angela?
It's interesting to point out that the complaints concern different iPod models.
Some charging at the time, some not. Some with older models, some brand new. In fact, in Cincinnati, a lawsuit has just been filed against Apple because a lawyer claims an iPod Touch, one of the Apple's newest edition iPods, also powered by a lithium-ion battery, exploded and caught fire while in a teenager's pocket. That suit claims the boy suffered second-degree burns to his legs and that the iPod was off at the time.
Now at KairoTV.com, you can read portions of the government reports obtained by Cairo 7 consumer investigators. We'd also like to hear if a similar incident has happened with your iPod, so post your comments. Click on the Scene on Cairo 7 tab on our homepage.
Months after Amy began her investigation comes word that Apple has succumbed to some backlash. After 4 nano batteries overheated or exploded in South Korea, Apple agreed to recall its first-generation nanos in that country because of pressure from the government. It is the first time worldwide that the computer giant has agreed to an iPod recall of any kind. Apple will replace not only the batteries but the shells of the first-generation nanos. So far, no recall here in the U.S.